During the 11 long years that America was involved in the Vietnam War, over 57,000 men died in combat. There were more than 300,000 wounded. The line between life and death was, for these men, very narrow. In the case of one of those soldiers, Tommy Clack, Vietnam is more than just a hellish memory. Tommy, now an administrator at Atlanta's Veterans Hospital, encountered a life-after-life experience that remains very real.
I was a captain in the Army. In particular, my job was that of what's called a forward observer. I called in artillery and plane strikes and gunships and was actually the person that directed us from point A to B by reading the map and coordinates and knowing where we are at all times. But one particular morning, May 29, 1969 to be exact, we ended up in a big firefight. Through the course of that action, I got hit by one of the incoming rounds we had coming in. I was conscious the whole time when I got hit. I remember flying through the air, and I remember coming down, and I sat up, and I looked down, and I saw that I was missing my right arm and my right leg, and my left leg was laying off to the side like it was broke. I had several puncture wounds over my body that I was bleeding from, and I saw everybody run around. I laid back down, and from that point forward, I guess I really started thinking about the fact that my time had come. I really was going to die. I heard no more battle sound. I didn't feel anything. There was no pain, and I felt this calm come over my body as I was laying there. But then the battle subsided, and they got in a medevac helicopter. And I remember that I was laying there on the ground. They put this poncho over me. Like the only time we put ponchos over people were when they were dead. And I guess for the first time, and I have no comprehension of what length of time this was, I realized that I was dead. I wasn't alive. I wasn't functioning as a human being anymore. And all of a sudden I realized that I wasn't visualizing this from the ground. I was looking down and seeing this go on. I don't ever remember leaving my body, quote, and it was really a weird experience because there was no emotions. There was nothing. It was just total peace and tranquility, and all of a sudden I just realized I didn't exist anymore.
Typical field procedure dictated that the mortally wounded be airlifted to the nearest possible field hospital. Tommy was rushed to the 25th Division Headquarters Hospital near Cu Chi, some 20 miles from the battlefield.
One of the things that you learn real fast in Vietnam when you have a lot of casualties, that people have priority over other people depending on their wounds. Realistically, if I had been in charge, somebody in my condition, I probably would have given a low priority due to the extent of the injuries. But for some reason, a doctor came over and lifted the poncho up. I saw him do it very clearly. And all of a sudden, I had a group of people on me trying to do whatever it is they were trying to do to me. They lifted me up and took me into the operating room. I saw him cut my clothes off. I saw him start IVs. I didn't feel any remorse or anything. There was just total peace and nothing for what was laying there that was my body. But then all of a sudden, I left that operating room, and it was almost like a blink of the eyes, and I was back at the battlefield where I had gotten injured. And at that particular time, I think is when I come to realize I really was dead, because everybody in Vietnam that I had put in plastic bags, when somebody got killed, you put them in a plastic bag, were right there with me. They were around me. Jeff and Mark and all these guys were right there with me, and we communicated like we were talking with our minds. And I was above the earth, and it was a gigantic brightness that surrounded the whole battlefield. That was just pure peace. 10 days later, I woke up, and I was laying in a bed in Cu Chi, Vietnam, and I did not have to ask what went on. I remember everything that went on. I knew I was missing The limbs, I didn't realize they had cut my left leg off in the operating room. It was beyond repair. But I told the doctor everything that had gone on, what they had done to me, that I had been covered up. And even a couple of guys that lived through the battle with me stopped by, and I told them who had gotten killed that day, and there was no way for me to know that except that I had been with them. Wherever we were, whatever that place was, whatever it was, we were there together because we were all dead.